check. Nice, we're good there. Pull that back up. All right, so pull this up with your laptop real quick. Make sure you make a copy because this will be forever in your Google Drive, and then you can always use this to make a budget. This is going to be premium. Are we a little warm in here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right, we'll open the doors here in a second. So while we pull this up, what I want you to do is at your group, discuss, have you ever invested in anything before? What are your thoughts on investing? Let's just start right there. So thoughts on investing, have you ever invested? Where are you at on there? While you pull up this this Google Doc or Google Sheets or whatever it is. Yeah. I think you can, when you try to go to File, Make a Copy, it might make you download the Google Doc app, so you can do it from there, or you can do it in your notebook. The Google Doc app, I don't know how well it works, but it's worth a try if you want to do that. I don't know how you feel about downloading stuff. I'm not a huge fan on my phone, but... All right, and group speakers are wearing the most colors today. So whoever's wearing the most colors is your group speaker. Determine this human. All right, and then next question is, do we remember the investing game? We just completed it on Tuesday. Do you remember this? All right, discuss with the group members. How did that go for you? Did you make money? Did you lose money? What did you learn? All right, let's do this. How many people made money in here? Raise your hand. Okay, how many people lost money in here? Yeah, I'm with you guys, right? So we entered the market at a weird space. Typically, when you're investing, you don't want to put $10,000 all into one company, all in one single day, right? That would be called risky investing. Usually, you want to invest slowly over time in multiple companies, right? But this is just kind of a fun game to have. We don't have enough time to cover investing today, so we'll start out our finals class with investing, and then we'll move into the final. So for the final, just prepare for like a normal class time. 75 minutes is about what it'll be. So yeah, and it'll be chill. So all right, did anybody anybody in here, did you buy the MVIS? Yeah? What is this company? Oh, nice. Does he own some? Okay, because you absolutely crushed. If you would have put $10,000 into MVIS, again, this is risky, you would have made, if you sold today or whenever you entered this into the thing, you would have made, your $10,000 would have turned into almost $30,000. So nice work, good purchase, right? Too bad that's not real money, of course, but you could have also lost money. Let's see what the worst was down here. Oh, not too bad. So somebody lost $1,600 on Tesla. Anybody buy Tesla in here? Yeah? Okay, and that happens, right? If you would have been buying Tesla for the last 4 years, you would have made way more money. So this is just during the short period of time, right? And if you didn't sell, you would still have all the Tesla you had. The value would just be lower, if that makes sense. So let's scroll back up here. Look at these Ethereum. Who bought Ethereum in here? Anybody? Somebody on the internet? Okay, that was a good purchase. They took second place there. They made... They turned their $10,000 into $20,000, which means they would have made $12,000. And then LXRX, oh yes, that's a pharmaceutical company. Yeah, and that thing shot up right away. So, yeah, Yeah, so pretty good. So that's just a little bit of exposure. There's a lot more knowledge to be gained before you start investing, but we'll talk about that during finals week. So congrats, you two. We'll be getting extra credit points for being in the top 3. So I will apply that fairly soon here. Do we have any thoughts or questions on this or anything regarding investing just to start? No? All right, we'll hold up on the questions until next time. So hopefully you pulled this budget up. Before we get started, we're going to take more of a wide picture of the overall U.S. economy. So what we have right here is the U.S. budget, right? We're going to make a personal budget, but we're going to look at the U.S. budget right now. So in the middle, all that green, and in the very middle, you see the revenue. So the U.S. government, through taxes, is making, they say $3,500 billion. Well, an easier way to say this is about 3.5 trillion. So 3,000 billion is 1 trillion, right? So it's 3 trillion. Does that make sense? So U.S. government makes about $3.5 trillion. You can see where that money comes from. Remember last week we calculated our income taxes, right, and all of our taxes. Most of their money's coming from income taxes. We also have payroll taxes, which is also coming out of your income, so you could really throw all of that into income tax. We have a little bit of corporate tax right there, but you get the idea. So that's how much money the government makes through taxation. If you look up at that big red number up there, the government is spending, and this is 2019, we're spending a lot more today. We're spending about $4.4 trillion, but we're only making about $3.4 trillion. And then on the outside, you can see what we're spending all that money on. So up top, we have health and human services. This could be Medicare, Medicaid, maybe some unemployment benefits. You might have food stamps in there, some different things like that. Down here, we have Social Security. This is kind of like retirement for older people, because we decided as a country we should take care of our older people. So once you retire at a certain age, the government will start sending you a check. You're paying into Social Security if you're working right now. The likelihood that you're going to get your money, it's kind of shaky. Right now, Social Security is losing money. I mean, right now our whole government is losing money. So, in my opinion, and this is why we need to talk about making budgets and investing, I would not plan on having Social Security when you go into retirement. I think you're going to have to do that on your own. So we're going to learn how to do that, right? You see Department of Defense. This is our military budget up there. And then you got interest on the debt, and then a bunch of different little things. So let's just check this out and discuss with your group members. What are your thoughts on what we're spending our money on, our revenue versus our spending? What are your thoughts on this? Discuss with your group members. Do you have any questions? What are your general thoughts? All right, let's talk about this. So I like what you said. What did you say at the end there? Yeah, if you're spending more than you have, it's probably not a good thing, right? So if this was your budget, you would be in a very bad place, right? You're probably never pulling yourself out of this hole. Of course, this is the government's budget, so they have some options, right? They can either take more money from you, or they can stop spending less, but that doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen, right? We just like to keep spending more. Or they can print more dollars, which we seem to be liking to do. Or we can borrow more debt, all this different things, right? So I actually have a debt calculator here. This is kind of interesting to look at. So if you look up way in the what would be that left-hand corner, you see the U.S. national debt. We're about $28 trillion dollars in the hole, right? And what's really interesting is if you look over at debt per citizen. So debt per citizen, the government has spent about $85,000 on your behalf that it doesn't have already, right? And so that's like you're born into the world. You already owe, well, the government $85,000 for spending of your, ancestors, right? If we look at the taxpayer, which I'm a taxpayer, you're probably a taxpayer. You're probably going to be more of a taxpayer in the future. You owe about $224,000, right, to the government. What are your thoughts on that? Discuss with your group members. All right, let's go up here. Thoughts, questions we have on this?
It's just crazy how like the national debt went up by like 1 million every month.
It is pretty crazy, yeah, and it's really accelerating. The last, COVID. Sometimes you got to spend money, right? Because if you don't spend money, you might fall behind. But yeah, it's making me a little bit nervous about our financial future as a country. Hopefully, we'll be okay. We might be able to outgrow it. In order to do this, we really need to get our economy going. So, yeah, we don't need to get into all that. But yeah, good. Any thoughts, questions here? We're good. Just overwhelmed? A whole bunch of numbers. Yeah, so that's a lot of money. So, yeah, anyways, there's a few things we can do about this. One, we can print more money to try to pay this off. One of the problems with that is that the dollar may lose value, right? Inflation is a very complex thing. A lot of people are afraid that inflation is going to occur because of how much money we're spending. But inflation is very complex, so we can't get into that. Who knows if inflation is going to occur? Basically, inflation means that prices are rising, right? We've seen gas rise pretty quickly. We've seen the stock market go up quite a bit. We've seen housing prices go up quite a bit. These are forms of inflation. And so one of the problems with this is if you are saving your money in the bank, right, you're just putting dollars into the bank account, you're going to lose value over time, right? And so we need to be a little bit smart about how we save money, because if you're just putting money in the bank, you're just slowly losing your money, right? And so we're going to learn how to do that. And the first aspect of that is getting our budget under control. So we're going to start there. But before we go there, I want us to think about a universal basic income. So it's the idea of the government paying individuals a certain amount of money every single month. Let's discuss with your group. What do you think about a UBI? Are you a fan, not a fan? What are your general thoughts? Universal basic income. All right, let's see. Let's go right here. General thoughts. Okay, yeah, so if you have to pay everybody, it's just going to cause more taxes or more debt, right? Yeah, so that is a certain particular problem. Yeah, how about right here? Thoughts? Yeah, socialism may have some problems, right? Yeah, and so there is a country, I forget what country it is. It might be Norway. They actually have a net revenue, so their country actually makes money, right? They haven't taken out a whole lot of debt. I could be wrong. It's some Northern European country, and with all of the country's profits, what they do is they actually give that back to their citizens. So if we didn't have that huge national debt, I think I would actually be a fan of a UBI. But things are complicated, right? Maybe it's a good idea, maybe it's not. It's hard to say exactly how that would work. The idea is that it might help lift up people on the bottom, right? And one of the problems and one of the concerns that we have is income inequality. So this is the distribution of income in the United States. So what we have here is the bottom 10% in terms of earners are only making about $9,000 or less, right? That's the bottom 10%. If we go all the way up here, the top 10% are making about $116,000 per year, right? Top 1% are making about $330,000 a year. That would be like, that'd put you in the 1%, right? And this average individual income is about $54,000. So, a lot of people are concerned about this, and there's real reason to be concerned about this because we don't want a whole lot of income inequality. A lot of times people would suggest socialism is the solution to income inequality, but if you actually look throughout history, whether you're a capitalist society or a socialist society, you typically have about the same amount of income inequality, right? It's like a problem that is way more difficult than just changing an economic system or a taxing protocol or whatever it is. So, this isn't ideal. And since we are in a capitalist society, we really need to focus on how we get off the bottom, because one of the problems is if you're stuck with no capital or no money or no property, it's hard to build wealth, especially when we're printing money because your money is slowly losing value. And when we do print money, if you do have capital or if you do have like property or stocks or whatever, you gain lots of money, right? And so we want to figure out how we can set ourselves up. For some reason, we're not teaching this in school. I have no idea why, because we need to learn how to use this system because it's a tool, right? So, if you don't have a capitalist society, basically the only way to make money is to go to work, right? If you go to work, you save money and you invest it. The value of that is now you can have your money make money, right? And so this is one of the reasons why we see the top 1% making so much is because they put their money to use, right? And so if we start investing and we get a full-time job and get a budget down, every single one of you can be a millionaire in here, right? Do you remember the investing video we had where $50 a month from the age of 20 just in the general S&P 500, which is we'll explain what that is on Wednesday, but that's just 500 companies. You're investing in a tiny fraction in all of them. $50 a month. If we look at the averages, you'll be a millionaire. I think you have $2 million by the time you retire. So if we can learn how to use the system, we can help pull ourselves up, right? And then we can teach others and so on. So let's look at poverty real quick and just kind of wrap our minds around how good we have it right now. Because sure, there are lots of people that are really struggling, but our life is fairly good overall. We've been really lifting people out of poverty. So in the 1800s, and this is adjusted for inflation, people make about $1.75 a day. If we extrapolate out to a year and talk about in our current dollar value terms, that was about $5,300 a year. So if we were going to budget your current income at $5,300 a year and you're going to pay for all of your own things, you'd have about $100 a month to pay for rent, right? So discuss with your group member, what's your house going to look like if it's only $100 rent in Boise right now? What's that house going to look like? All right, let's go up here. So what kind of house are you going to rent for $100 a month? 30 roommates. Yeah, right? You're going to be sleeping 4 or 5 to a room. You might not even have electricity, right? So it's not going to be that great, right? And this is how people used to live, right? So I think sometimes we get caught up in our own struggles and we don't see how good we actually have it. Sure, life is hard. I've been very poor, right? Living in my suburban before, but I still had a computer in my pocket, which is insane, right? This is just a crazy thing, right? And I can buy this for less than $1,000, right? It's kind of crazy. This is a colorized picture of oyster shuckers. These are people who used to open up oysters for a living in 1913, right? And in 1913, the average salary, people used to work a lot longer too, and almost all kids worked back in the day because everybody was very poor, right? This is only 100 years ago. You'd make about $16,000 a year. So if we were going to extrapolate rent out to 100 years ago, you got about $300 in today's terms for rent in Boise, right? So how's your apartment looking now for $300? Discuss with your group members. Or did I say a year? $300 a month. $300 a month in Boise. All right, let's go up here. What's that place look like? Yeah, less roommates than in the 1800s, right? We don't have great technology here, so you don't have a fridge, right? So no ice cream, which is very sad. You probably don't have consistent electricity. You might have a little bit. Another thing that's great about today's society is our technology, right? You didn't have washing machines in 1913, right? You're washing all your own dishes by hand. You don't have a nice hot shower, right? So there's 2 different ways to think about this. One is you have more wealth, and 2, you have more comfort, right? Now that doesn't solve a lot of suffering all the time, but it's just good to kind of wrap your head around. And then today, the median or average income is about $54,000 to $56,000. So, and again, those prices are adjusted for inflation. So those are prices we can wrap our minds around today, right? It'd be a lot lower because the dollar used to be tied to gold and was worth a lot more back in the day. So, just some good way to zoom out there. This is a graph looking at world poverty, and so The green is the amount of people pulling themselves out of world poverty. And the red is poverty decreasing, right? And the reason why it's going up partially is because we're getting a lot more people, but also because people are becoming a lot more wealthy. So you can see the red really dropping off. And what we've seen since we integrated free markets, we discovered this and we've been integrating into the world, is we're gaining a lot more wealth, right? We do get some wealth, income inequality from this, but people are like leaving poverty like crazy, right? Sometimes when you look at the news and stuff, things seem all terrible, right? And everybody's really suffering. And there's plenty of suffering in the world, and we want to get rid of that. But, if we stay on these current trends, in 20 years, the world is going to be a much better place than it used to be. So I think this is just good to kind of like zoom out real quick to see what our lives kind of look like at the current moment. So, all right, any thoughts or questions on any of this? Ready to make a budget? All right, let's jump into this. So you've made a copy. So let's go to this budget. So you're going to go to your own budget here. So make sure you went to File and make a copy. And then this will be, again, forever in your, what is this, Google Sheets? It'll be forever in your Google Sheets, so you can use it whenever you want. So the first rule when we're editing your own version of this is you only type things in the yellow boxes, because all the other ones have equations in them. And so if you delete those, then this isn't going to work very well, right? So you only want to type in the yellow boxes, and everything else is going to auto-calculate. So the first step when we're editing this is we want to determine... What's that? Oh, what the heck? Nobody said anything over here?
What is the link again?
Oh, the link. Oh, there we go. Okay. It's tinyurl.com/budget100. Yep, and then go to File, make a copy, and then get your own copy. You're probably going to have to sign in as well. So, all right, good. I thought I was losing my mind there. I was like, am I hearing voices? Because this isn't good. I was like, especially mid-class. All right, cool. So make that copy. And what we're going to do first, let's get our notebooks real quick so we don't mess this all up. Let's do some calculations in our notebook first. We're going to have to figure out about what our yearly salary is. Just while we do this, is anybody already like a yearly salaried employee? No? Okay, that's what I assumed. So I guess before we calculate our yearly salary, the way I set this up, since we're in college, so making a budget is kind of messy, I have current and I have future. So remember last week when we looked up our potential future salary after taxes? Do you remember this? Do you remember what number that was? Let's discuss with our group members. What was the yearly salary after taxes that we looked up the other day? And then we might have questions. So if you do have a question, ask the question. So let's discuss with our group members. What was that yearly salary for a future job after taxes? Again, after taxes. We didn't quite write it down. If you remember the overall salary, I'll help you calculate it. So, yeah, so after taxes. You remember looking up how much you paid in taxes, and maybe you can do a quick minus equation? All right, and let's write that number down in our notebooks real quick, that yearly salary after taxes. And then raise your hand if you're not quite sure, because I'll help you out real quick here. We're all, yeah? All right, do you remember your yearly salary before taxes? 60,000, so you can write down like 42,000 after taxes. Anybody else need a quick estimate? Yeah, what was your overall salary? 100,000. Probably looking at about 66,000 after taxes. Yeah, right? Brutal. All right, cool. Anybody else? Yeah, what do we have? 85. You're looking at about 62 maybe? And these are just rough estimates. These aren't going to be perfect, but they're close enough. Yeah. 88. Yeah, about 63,000. Anybody else?
Is that like 20%?
It's about 25 to 30%. The higher you make, the more percentage. So when you said 100,000, that's why I said 66, because that's about 33%. So, yeah, and there's ways you can get around taxes. I won't teach you those right now. We don't have enough time for that. But, yeah, okay, so that is your future. And so in the future box right there, you can type in that number. All right? And so for my future, I'd like to make about 60K, at least my near future. And so that's about 400,000 after taxes. And what you'll see is all of a sudden, some things will pop up, right? You'll get some numbers in there. And we're going to make a monthly budget because a monthly budget is easier to understand what we're spending per month rather than per year, right? So if you look over here under this future, this bright green box, this is about the amount of money I'll be bringing home per month after taxes. So that's the money that will be going into my bank account if I make $40K a year after taxes. Do we follow that? All right, next up, we're going to think about our current dollar value that we make, right? So if you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, you can try and take that number that goes into your bank account, multiply it by 24, right? That would be your take-home pay for a year. If you have a summer job and you're not quite sure, try and make some estimations. So now we're going to take a few minutes to just try and estimate how much you make per year. And if it's zero, hey, it's zero, that's fine, put in zero, right? Because you're in college right now, so things get a little messy. But that's why we have both of these options. And if you get a scholarship, you can add that to your income because a scholarship counts as income, right? So if you have a $5,000 scholarship to Boise State, you can add $5,000 to that. So I'll give you some time to discuss about what your current salary is. And if you have questions, raise your hand. I can kind of help you. We're just estimating here. This doesn't have to be perfect. And then once you get that number, go ahead and type that into current. So after my taxes, I'm at about $28,000 right now. All right, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing that number with your group members, that's okay. What I want you to do is just have a brief discussion of what are your thoughts, your current take home versus your future take home. What are your thoughts on that? Discuss with your group members. Yeah. Where are you at right here? Let's see here. What do we have? Oh, for this?
Yeah.
Oh, for your current. What did you calculate?
I don't know what I was calculating.
Oh, well, do you have a job?
Over the summer?
Over the summer. Do you have an idea of how much money is going to go into your bank account at the end of the summer?
No.
Do you know what your, are you working full-time?
Part-time.
Part-time. How many hours a week?
I think they said between 25 and 30.
Okay, and do you know what your salary is going to be, or how much per hour? 15 an hour? Let's just estimate 5,000.
Okay.
Yeah, close enough. That's probably incorrect, but let's just guess right around there. Yeah. Oh, thank you. I'm decent at math. I should have been an engineer. I crushed my SAT or ACT in math. I'm just guessing too. I could be like $3,000 off, but we're just going with it. So, anybody else need assistance with the current? Are we all up to date so far? All right, cool. Making sure we're all up to date so we can get started, so we're good. So what you're going to notice next is this type of budget that we're making is called the 50-30-20 budget. And I think it's pretty simple, and the reason why I like this one is because we're looking at needs, we're looking at wants, and then we're looking at like building for the future, which is paying off debt, saving, and investing. So right here, you're going to see your monthly budget, right? So based on my current income, I'm making about $2,300 per month, right? And 50% of that is about $1,100. You get the idea. You see the number, right? So about $1,200 per month is what I should spend on my living expenses. And then for wants, right, because you're making money and you should enjoy some of your money, right? Life is partially about enjoyment, so we should be having a little fun, right? I got about $700 per month to spend on some wants that I have. And then 20% is like building for the future. And the reason for this is so if you save money and pay off your debt and start investing, you can make a lot of money moving into the future, right? And then your life will maybe be a little bit better, right? So what we're going to do next is we're going to start calculating what our needs are, okay? So we're going to start off with housing. And before we type any numbers in there, let's discuss with our group members how much you're paying for rent per month. And if you don't know, that's all right, but let's just have this discussion real quick. How much are you paying for rent? Even if your parents help you, we're still going to be typing these numbers in just to get an idea of what it costs you to survive. So how much you paying rent per month? All right. Let's. Anybody living on campus right now? Campus housing? Yeah. Do we know how much it costs per month?
It's about 1,000 to 1,100.
1,000 to 1,100. And with that, they're including your utilities. They're including food, I believe, right? Internet. So, so you can just enter in for housing if you have like a nice, easy number like that, right? Anybody not quite sure? We all have an idea? All right. So go ahead and enter in that number for housing, right? And again, if you're on campus or if utilities are included, just enter it into housing and you can skip the utilities. And even if your parents are helping you, because a lot of times parents are helping you through college, right? My parents did a little bit as well. We're still going to enter in the value so that we know what our current lifestyle costs us. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So enter in that housing number. All right, and then we're going to go to utilities. So if you live on campus, you don't have utilities. But if you pay utilities, let's discuss with our group members, how much do your utilities cost? Do you pay utilities? What are your thoughts on this? Discuss with your group members. Utilities, what do they cost us? So utilities, electricity, gas maybe water. These are utilities. Oh, okay. Well, then you're good. Yeah, so you can leave that blank or you can add it in there. Anybody pay their own utilities right now? Know what their utility bill is? No? Nobody? All right. Well, mine is about, what do I have up there? $65. It usually costs more in the winter and less in the summer. Or no. More in the winter, more in the summer, less in the spring and fall because of heat and AC. So good news is my utilities went way down this month, so I'm saving money, right? All right, so you may or may not enter anything in there. Next we have groceries. So if you live on campus and you're already paying for this in your housing, you've covered this. But you can think about, do you go to the grocery store and spend any other money? So now you're just trying to estimate how much you spend on groceries per month. So I'm going to let you think for a second here. You can maybe think about what does it normally cost you when you go to the grocery store. Maybe it's $30 every time you go, and you go maybe 2 or 3 times a month, right? Then you can just 30 times 3, that's about $90 a month. If you only eat on campus and you never go to the grocery store, then you don't need to include that. But let's just try and estimate how much do you think you're spending on groceries. And then go ahead and enter that in there. All right, and let's discuss with our group members. Are you buying groceries? What are your thoughts on this? Do you know how much you're spending? What do we have? All right, do we have any questions on what you're maybe spending on groceries? For most people, it's about $200 to $400. So I'm at about $200 there. Next, we have vehicle maintenance. Before I get into this, let's discuss, do you have a vehicle? And have you had to put any money into that vehicle recently? Discuss with your group members. All right, has anybody put any money into their car recently? Nobody? Yeah? What do we have to do?
I got the oil changed and I got the wiper
Yeah, oil change, wipers,
A light out in the back.
a light out.
Press my brake. It wasn't manual.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I lost, my battery died out in the mountains, so I had to hitch a ride into town and then bring a battery back out into the middle of nowhere, right? So, yeah, anybody ever have to replace your tires? No? Okay, well, that's about $1,000, yeah? Did you experience this? Only $400? Oh, I got a truck, so the tire's a little bit more. So maybe a car is cheaper, right? So that's good to know. And so a good rule of thumb is to plan for about $100 to $200 per month in vehicle maintenance, because you might not pay that in a certain year, but then when you need your tires replaced or a battery goes out or who knows, randomly you're going to have to pay $1,000 to get your front end redone, which I just also had to do, right? So it's good to just plan on $100 per month for vehicle maintenance. $200 if you have a truck sometimes. So go ahead and if you have a vehicle, enter about $100 into there, just to plan. Next we have gas. Let's start thinking maybe how often do you fill up per month and about what does it cost every time you go to the gas pump. So think in your head, see if you can do some multiplication to figure out how much we're about paying in gas per month. How much does it cost to fill up your tank and how many times you fill your tank up a month? All right, then once you have that number, go ahead and enter in your gas bill. All right, next we're going on to health insurance. And let's discuss the group members. Do you have your own health insurance? Do you have your parents' health insurance? Thoughts on health insurance? Let's discuss that real quick. Health insurance. All right, next question is, what is the purpose of health insurance? Discuss with the group members. What is the purpose of health insurance? Why do we have it? All right, let's go up here. What's the purpose of health insurance?
Medical stuff is very expensive, so trying to lower down the upfront payment.
Yeah, medical stuff is expensive, right? So essentially what people are doing is they're all saying, hey, if something bad happens to you, like that could happen, and you might not be able to afford it, right? So everybody's like, hey, well, I'll pitch in, a couple $100 a month, and then if something catastrophic happens, there's enough money to put you back together, right? And then it's like, well, that might be you that needs to be put back together, or maybe it's me that needs to be put back together. And so we're all like, we'll all pitch in a little bit, right? Anybody pay for their own health insurance right now? No, so we can all be on our parents' health insurance till the age of 26. So this is a little bit distant from our lives right now, but if your parent has a full-time job, that company is paying for your health insurance right now. And they're probably paying about $100 at least for your own for your personal health insurance. So you can type in $100 there just to know what that's costing you. The current health insurance system is kind of strange. The more money you make, the more money you pay. Since I'm a full-time employee for now, Boise State covers most of my health insurance, and I just got to pay $25 a month. So if you have a full-time job, your health insurance is quite cheap. If you need to, if you're, can't get a full-time job, or if you're self-employed or something, good luck, right? Because health insurance is pretty expensive. Yeah.
I have another question.
Yeah.
If you had something crazy happen and you didn't have health insurance and you couldn't pay for it, you're gonna die.
Yeah, so in the U.S., if you need care, you can get care even if you don't have that much money, right? So let's say you get in a terrible car accident or you get cancer, whatever it is, yes, you'll still get treatment, right? You will go into debt for that, but then you can file bankruptcy, and then you can get out of debt. So if you're debt, and I don't exactly know how bankruptcy works, but if you're in so much debt, let's say something terrible happened and it cost $1 million to put you back together, right? At that point, based on your income, let's say it's impossible for you to get out of that debt, right? You're just completely buried in it, and there's no way you're ever escaping. You can file for bankruptcy. Remember when we talked about credit scores and credit cards? Your credit score is going to be destroyed after bankruptcy. You're going to have to start back from zero, right? But yeah, you won't be just left off to die. So they still have to treat you. So now you might not get the most premium care, right? Like a Jeff Bezos, he's going to be able to pay any doctor he wants to cure whatever he has, right? So you might not be in that position, but that's another reason why we want to be thinking about investing in our future so that you do have that flexibility. But yeah, if something terrible happens, filing bankruptcy is a very tough thing, right? Like, it's better to have health insurance than to not have it because your life is a lot more stressful. And just to kind of explain how health insurance works, and I have cheaper health insurance. I have catastrophic, which means anything under $6,000 that happens to me, I have to pay for. And so remember when we talked about those emergency funds, when we're talking about building our financial independence? One of it is a $6,000 emergency fund. This is kind of the level that the cheapest health insurance plans tend to cover. And so it's like, you want to have that money. If I get in a car crash and I'm just totally destroyed, I only have to pay $6,000, and then my insurance company picks up the rest, right? You can get better health insurance policies where they'll pay for everything or just pay for a little bit. There's a bunch of different setups. So health insurance is fairly complicated. But in my opinion, when you're young, I think catastrophic is the way to go because it's fairly cheap. And if I do get just destroyed, it's probably worth $6,000 to be put back together. So, or if I got cancer, I only have to pay $6,000 and my health insurance is paying the rest. So, good question. Other questions on health insurance? All right, so we got our number in for health insurance. We're good to go? All right, nice. Next up, we have life insurance. Sam here is selling life insurance, right?
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of life insurance?
Well, obviously you're insuring your life, so like if you were to put a number on what you think your life is worth at a face value, and you assign yourself a beneficiary so that typically it's with like a family, so that if you were like the primary form of money for your family, that way if you die and say your wife doesn't have a job or your kids, obviously they need a stream of income, you'll get that money. But also in terms of like if you were, there's different types of policies. So like obviously the best one is a whole life policy, which will create you an instant state where you pay a premium each month, obviously just like any other insurance, and that money goes towards, like you were saying with health insurance, kind of like everybody pulling together.
Mm-hmm.
But also it recognizes that premium and puts it into another account that builds a cash value that's yours to access at any time, and it's all tax deferred.
Yes.
That money will build up over time, and you'll be able to take that out whenever you want.
Yeah, okay, so just to back up here, so let's say you are the only person working. Let's say your wife or husband is at home raising the children, right, and you make all the money, and something terrible happens and you die, right? If you don't have life insurance, now your spouse has to find work, right, or figure that out. So most people, especially when they have a family, will get life insurance because, if something happens to you, and imagine trying to work through all that, right? You just lost your spouse and now you got kids and you're trying to find a job. Like, that's going to be overwhelming. So people will get like $1 million life policy and they're fairly cheap, like 10 to 20 bucks a month usually. And then there are other plans where you can actually build wealth and save money in your life life insurance plan. Yeah. So and it's again everybody pulling together. They're like, hey, it's not likely that I'm going to die. It's not like you're going to die. But in case it does, let's all put 25 bucks in, and then we'll have $1 million in case it happens for the person that it does happen to. So a lot of you may not have it now, but you said you've had it since 14.
Yeah, something like 14 or 15.
Yeah, and you said it's a great idea for people to get it.
If you can afford to get a whole life policy, if you can, you should do it.
All right, so there you go. You heard it here first. So something to think about. If you don't have one, you can put $0 in there. But through Boise State, I got $10 right there. I skipped car insurance. Car insurance is the same idea, right? In order to drive, you need car insurance. Anybody in here paying their own car insurance by chance? Do you know what it costs you per month? $80. Okay, do you drive a car? Yeah, okay. So the nicer your vehicle, the more the car insurance, because the nicer your car is, the more it's going to cost to fix, right? So have you ever been in a crash before? No, yeah, so it's also very cheap. I gotten 2 incidents, and my insurance went from $80 to $140. So that's what happens if you're not a good driver, right? So now, since I've been a good boy, I'm back down to $85, right? So for your insurance to enter it in there, you're probably somewhere between $60 and $120. If you've had a crash, go to that $120 value. If you got a really nice car, you can jump it up to $150. $100 is a good average, maybe $60. So you can kind of guess on where you're at there. So go ahead and enter your car insurance into there. So we're getting that value in. Next, we got internet. Anybody paying their own internet by chance? Yeah, do you know what your internet bill is?
Me and my roommate share it. I think it's 25 each.
Oh yeah, 25 each. Nice. So go ahead and enter that in. If you live on campus, that's already in your housing, so you don't need to enter that one in. Next, we got cell phone. Anybody paying their own cell phone in here? No? Okay, so cell phone is going to be, you're probably on your parents' plan, right? And that's a good move because it's a lot cheaper, but you're probably looking at anywhere between $25 and $65 a month. So you can just pick a number somewhere in between there and enter that in for your cell phone. Again, we're just trying to figure out how much your current life costs, right? Not what you're paying, but what your life costs. And this will actually make you maybe appreciate your parents a little bit too. And then next we have clothing. So clothing is a need. I don't buy a whole lot of clothing, so I just threw in about $30 probably for random things I need, right? Some shoes, some new socks, something like that. So estimate the need of your clothing, not like your fun clothing expense. Does that make sense? All right, so you're going to enter that in. If you have any medications, I left you, let's undo that. If you have any medications, you got a space there. And then I gave you some miscellaneous spaces because who knows, in the future you may have a need that I didn't get in there. So now what you'll see is down here, your total needs, how much money that costs you is going to add up. So for me, it's about $1,150. And then the two little red squares down below, we got current budget. So based on how much I'm getting paid right now, and because I've done this a lot, I've really worked out my budget, I am right on budget, right? So I got about $16 left over. My future budget, if I was about to make $60K a year, I'd have about $500 left over. And so what that would mean is I could maybe get a nicer place. Maybe I could buy a house and I could bump up this $475 in rent up to about $1,000 in rent, right? So we kind of see how this is working. All right, let's discuss with our group members. How does your current budget number look and how does your future budget number look? Discuss. How are we looking? Current, not good. Future's looking okay? Future's good? Future's good? Okay, that's good. All right, let's see how are we doing up here. Yeah, current one's in the negative, future one's looking better, right? And that's to be suspected or expected from a college student, right? But it's good to be aware that right now, if without your income, if you're living the way you're living right now, that's not going to end up very good in 40, 50 years, right? It's going to be a disaster. So, yeah, but that's to be expected right now. So, there you go. And another thing to think about, if you get married and now you have two incomes coming in, right? These numbers are going to increase by quite a lot, right? So, that'll really help you potentially save to buy a house. So, we'll get to saving in a second here. But next, let's get to the fun things. So now we're going to go over to our wants budget. And the first thing we're going to do, because I know how this goes, we're going to just include coffees and drinks in general, right? This can go for energy drinks, maybe sodas, Arizona iced teas at the gas station. About how many times are you going to a place and buying a little drink? Discuss with your group members. You can even think about your alcohol budget. We're going to turn this into drinks. Drinks, there we go. You can throw, because alcohol will waste a lot of your money. Let's just think about how often you're drinking coffee or whatever it is. Per week, per month. All right, let's put a number on the week real quick. So let's get a number on the week. Anybody saying like maybe 5 times a week they're at least buying something? There's got to be somebody out there. No? 5 times a week. Nobody's getting coffee every day? Geez, you guys are frugal. How about like 3 times a week? Yeah, 3 times a week, that's it? Anybody never buy any drinks? Yeah? Oh, wow, okay. What's that? Oh, it's in your grocery budget. So you buy like little coffee things or something?
Yeah, like vitamin waters, and then I get like K-Cups and stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, okay, so that's in your grocery budget. So we're not going out to like Starbucks often? Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Well, I have a little coffee vending machine. I put like $10 in it every month, so that's my my drinks budget right there. So go ahead and enter in whatever you think you're spending about per month on drinks there. It's lower than it's been in the past. I'm surprised. Some people out there, right? And I understand coffees from wherever are delicious. They're spending $5 every single morning. That's going to be $20 a week, about $80 a month, just to show you what that looks like over the long term. Let's say you're 20 right now, right? Let's say every single morning you're going and buying a coffee drink. This might happen more once you're working. So you want to retire at the age of 67. Say you've saved zero money. And let's say you just take your coffee budget, which is $80 a month, and you throw it into an investment, right? The S&P 500 gets about 12% per year. So let's just say you decide, I'm going to stop buying these drinks. Maybe it's alcohol, or maybe it is a coffee every single day, and then we're going to calculate. Let's say you put that into investing. You're looking at about $2 million right there. So just to kind of show you how all these little things that we're spending money on slowly add up, right? This doesn't mean you can't ever get these drinks. Sometimes you got to have some fun, and you do have a wants budget, so we need to make sure you are enjoying some of your money. But yeah, you get the idea, right? This can add up quite a lot if we're investing, especially when we start, if we're young. So, all right, that's your drinks. Next, we're talking about eating out. How often are you eating out per week? Discuss with your group members. Put a number on it. It's lower because of COVID. When I was in college, I was probably eating out like 7 times a week, right? So throw a number on there. All right, let's see what we came up with. Well, no, before we talk about that, how much does it cost you per time you eat out? Discuss that. What's that bill cost? All right, let's go right here. About what's our average for eating out per week? Twice? That's it? Oh, nice. Good work. All right, how about right here? What's our average? 3 times a week? Okay, so we're looking at 2 to 3. Let's take 3 times a week. How much does it typically cost? Okay, $10. So if I take 3 times 4.5, because there's 30 days, that's about 4.5 weeks. It's looking at about 13.5 times you go out to eat. How many dollars? Oh yeah, but just per cost per time. $10? Okay, yeah, so about $130 is what you're saying. Yeah, 135, 130. So just to drive this point home, let's enter 130 into here. Calculate. Okay, $3.5 million. Okay, nice, right? So again, I'm not saying you can't eat out. You can't have coffee, because you need to have. Oh, this isn't the screen I need. Right? This is your wants budget. So for me, because of COVID, I've been eating out less. I'm estimating it's about $75 a month, because I'm really not eating out at all. But as things start to open up, I'm going to be spending significantly more, right? So to be honest, I should probably boost this up to prepare for my future. So let's say about $150 a month, right? And it's all right to enjoy some of your money, so you got to make sure you're doing that. Next, we got pets. With your group members, you got any pets? What do you have? What are your thoughts? Pets. Do you ever want future pets? What do you think? All right, anybody have any pets in here? Nobody has any pets in here? Really? Yeah, kinda? Parents have pets? Okay. What do you have? Oh, so golden doodles, is that what you said? Yeah, nice. Do you know how much they have to pay for dog food per month? Yeah, and you might have vet fees in there. And so, yeah, pets can be quite expensive. So if you do have any expenses there, you can go ahead and add them in for your pets. We might not have them yet because we're college students, but it's going to be an expense maybe in your future. Next, we're thinking about hobbies. Discuss with your group members. Do you have any expensive hobbies out there? What do you think? Things you enjoy doing? Any expensive ones? Are they all cheap? What are your thoughts? Anybody mountain bike? You mountain bikers? Yeah, fairly expensive?
Yeah, like up front.
Yeah, up front, right?
Like brakes and services.
Yeah, okay. And so what we want to try to do is extrapolate that throughout the year, right? So you don't end up spending too much or too little. I got some expensive hobbies, and yeah, I might have to buy some mountaineering gear. So I'm estimating about $200 just in gear this year for my hobbies, right? So go ahead and estimate that. Next, we have travel. Are you going anywhere this summer? Flying, driving? What are your thoughts? Discuss with your group members. Any traveling plans coming up? All right, and then again, we want to try to extrapolate and average that over the whole year, right? So I put $100. A good rule of thumb on your budgets is to overestimate, right? So even if you don't think you're going to spend that much, it's sometimes good to round up a little bit just to make sure that you're safe. It's better to have more money at the end of the year than less money, right? So enter in an estimated travel budget. For me, I'm putting $100 in for the year. Next up, subscriptions. Do you have any subscriptions that you pay for or that you steal from your parents? Talking Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is. Discuss with your group members what kind of subscriptions do we have. What's that? Oh, this is a monthly budget, so I'm anticipating $1,200 for the year because a plane ticket's probably going to cost me $300-400 there. Plenty of gas money. That's my daily gas money, and then my travel gas money is like extra. Does that make sense? So I'm counting that as travel. And I'm just trying to go higher just to make sure that I'm all good. And I consider traveling kind of a hobby too, so it's like $300 a month. That's a pretty good budget, so yeah. All right, then try and add those up per month and then enter in your subscription amount per month. So one of the issues with subscriptions is that a lot of times we just have it auto-paying, right? I just had one that I canceled because I was paying for it for like a year and a half and not using it, right? And so it's good to cancel these things because I probably wasted, it was like $15 a month, so I was like probably wasted, who knows, almost $200, right? That I could have been investing or saving or doing something else with. So we want to make sure we're not having things that we're just paying corporations money that we're not utilizing, right? All right, next up, shopping. How are you doing with shopping? Ordering things from Amazon? What are your thoughts on your shopping habits? Discuss with your group members. How are your shopping habits? Anybody love shopping in here? You have yeah? Yeah, what do you like? Anything in particular? Expensive clothes. Okay, yeah, right? So that means you might need to make some room for that in your budget, right? So you can enjoy those things. Because a lot of times what happens is we'll get a credit card, we'll start swiping that, we don't realize how much money we're spending, we might not make a budget, and then we're in some trouble, right? So yeah, and then if we're saving money, then we can enjoy those things, right? So a good rule for shopping, if you have a hard time controlling your shopping, is the 24-hour rule. So if you want to buy something, then you say, because buying actually releases dopamine, right? It can become an addiction. So you can say, all right, I'm going to wait 24 hours. In 24 hours, if I still need those things, then I might buy it, right? And so you can even give yourself a budget. So you can say, well, I just put $100 a month, right? I don't shop a whole lot, but just to be safe, right? Mostly it's kind of tied in with my hobbies and travel. There's a lot of my shopping. So so kind of estimate, what do you think you're spending per month shopping? Enter that number in there, whatever you come up with. A lot of times we underestimate. So a good thing that you can do is you can actually look at your bank statement and go through the last month, and you can just start adding up what you're spending, right? So you see like those 7 Amazon charges, right, that you have, and then you can see how much you're actually spending. And if you do that, you might be surprised, because I've been very shocked sometimes. I'm like, what the heck? $400, right? And it's like, well, that was not a good month. So it's a good thing to be aware of, because these things slip out of our control sometimes. And then next we have a gym. Are you paying for a gym membership? Discuss with your group members. Paying for a gym membership. All right, enter in that gym membership, and then again have some miscellaneous things in there. So if you have anything extra that you spend money on for your wants, maybe you like going to movies or whatever you like buying, right? You can add those in. But let's look at that current and future budget in the orange right there. And let's see how we're doing currently and in the future, and discuss with the group members how you're looking for your wants budget. All right, let's go right here. How are we looking?
Our current is still in the negative, but our future's looking good.
Okay, future's looking good. Current's not looking so good. All right, nice. General thoughts way up here? Same thing? Yeah, okay, that's reasonable for now. And so I'm almost right on, right? Again, I've done this every single semester, so I'm getting pretty good at this stuff. All right, so now we've done that. We need to go to debt, saving, and investing. So we're going to have a little quiz right here. Try to maybe write these down in our notebook. Remember, we had 5 stages for financial independence. We talked about these last week. Let's see if you can remember some of those stages with your group members. What were the 5 steps to financial independence? Let's see what we come up with. We got 5 rules for financial stability. All right, does anybody remember step 1? Yeah. Yeah, $500 buffer in that checking account, right? Because if you overdraw your bank account, they're going to charge you like $25 to $50, right? So, nice work. All right, step 2. Anybody remember step 2? How about right here? Do you remember any other steps? Oh, so an emergency fund of $6,000. That's actually step 4. First, what we want to do is get a $1,000 emergency fund, right? So $1,000 emergency fund, this is just your first security blanket, right? So now you have about $1,500 just as a backup, right? Let's discuss with our group members. Do we feel like we have this? Are we concerned? What do we think? Discuss. All right, what's the next step? Oh, we're still talking? All right. Next step. Do you remember what the next step is before the $6,000 emergency fund? Pay off debt. Yeah, right? So we want to pay that debt off. Let me go to a quick calculator here. Real quick, let's talk. Do we have student loans? What do we think? Discuss with our group members. Do we have student loans? All right, so I'm going to show you why it's important to pay off your student loans here. We've done this before, but we're going to do it again because this is important. When I graduated, I had about $20,000 in student debt. Let's say I just took my time. I took 30 years to pay that off, and interest for me was about 6.8%. So calculate So if I was going to pay off that $20,000 over 30 years in interest, I would have to pay that $20,000 back. Plus, I would also pay the banks a bonus $27,000, right? So that would not be a good use of my money because the bank is just getting rich off of me, right? And we don't want to be doing that. We don't want to make bankers rich, right? That's not a good thing to do with your life. So, what I did is I got very aggressive, and I paid it off in 2 years, right? Actually, it must have been longer than that because I was paying $500 a month, so it must have been 4 years. There we go. It took me 4 years to pay off my loans, $500 a month. I only paid $3,000 in interest, which is a lot better than and that $3,000 is right there, a lot better than that $26,000. We had a video on credit cards, right? Dangers of credit card debt. Let's discuss with our group members. Do we have credit cards? What are our thoughts on credit cards in general? Go for it. All right, anybody have a credit card out there? All right, let's go right here. Why do you have a credit card? What are your thoughts? Yeah. To build credit. And why do we want to build credit? Yeah, so when you're building credit, what you're essentially doing is building your trustworthiness to pay off loans in the future, right? Some people would say credit, that you shouldn't be taking on debt to take on future debt, right? But I think it's not a bad move. I got a credit card when I was in college to build my credit. What I did, and a smart thing to do with it, is I just paid one bill with it. So every month, because part of what they're doing with building credit is they just want to see that you are capable of making monthly payments, right? So every single month, when I moved into a house with some people, nobody wanted to pay the utilities, and I was like, I will pay utilities, and then you will pay me, and I will get a credit card, and I would just pay my utilities with that credit card every month, slowly build my credit, right? So that's one way to build credit. The other way is just to pay off your student loans. So if you got student loans, a lot of times the minimum payments can be $20 to $50 a month. You can just start doing that, and that'll build your credit as well. So we had over here too. Yeah, what are some of the dangers of a credit card?
Nice balance you have on it.
Yeah, so you'll get a nice, fancy, shiny new credit card, and it'll say you got $5,000, right? That's $5,000 you can borrow. The problem is, especially since you're a risky person right now, because you're young, they're going to charge you lots of interest, right? So let's say you get that brand new credit card and you're like, I'm going to Mexico. Screw this, right? We're going to have a good time. You're bringing all your friends down, right? Because I know lots of people who did this, right? So this isn't an unnormal thing, right? Let's say you're doing that. One of the crazy things about credit cards, have we heard of reward cards before? So we got to be careful, especially with reward cards, because they give you like an extra, $10 to $30 a month in bonuses or something like that. Problem is the interest rate is like 25%. At least on my cards it is, right? And so let's say I spend $5,000. It takes me 4 years to pay it off at 25%. On that $5,000, I'm going to be paying $3,000, right? Which seems low. But what happens to people is they max out one credit card, they get another one. They max out that one, they get another one, right? And pretty soon, you got $20,000 in credit card debt, and it takes you you're going to have to pay $600 per month. You're going to pay $11,000 to the bank, right? So you kind of get where we're going with this. We don't want to be in debt, and we got to be careful with our credit cards. So what's the rule for credit cards? Remind your group members, because you wrote it down on your assignments, and I just graded them. So what was the rule for credit cards? All right, let's go right here. What's the rule for credit cards? Yeah, pay it off in full every single month, right? Don't overspend, right? So beware of those, because I know plenty of friends who absolutely buried themselves, and they definitely regret it. So, all right, so we're going back to this debt saving investing. School is kind of an investment, right? So I have tuition there. I kind of also have it under the wants budget, depending on how you're using it. But in theory, you should be paying for a degree that's going to make you more money in the future, and that's what we would call an investment. So if you're paying in-state tuition, you can go ahead and type in $650 per month. If we take that out throughout the year, you're paying about $650 per month to be here. So you can type that in. If you're out of state, you're paying about $2,100 per month to be here. And if you did it properly for your income, you would have put your scholarships into that income, right? So you can go ahead and add that to your investment. We got to be careful because you're also taking out a student loan. So when you're thinking about your student loans, again, it's nice to just start slowly paying those down, right? So for me, since I don't have any student loans, I'm good. But when I was in college, just paying $50 every month until I got out, and then I was like, okay, now we got to get aggressive, $500 a month, right? So if you're paying on your student loans, you can enter in whatever you want. If you're not paying on them, you can leave that blank because they're probably not doing that. But it'd be a good idea. Next, you'd want to pay off your credit card debt, right? And then we have car loans. So let me go off about car loans real quick. Cars are what we call depreciating assets. So very few people buy a car, drive it off the lot, and now all of a sudden that car is worth more money, right? Unless you have a classic car. So we got to be very careful about buying brand new cars, because what will happen is you'll go into a car dealership. They'll be like, yo, you don't want that older car. We got this nicer car. We can finance you, right? Which means we can put you in debt. And, it only costs you like $300-400 a month, but you'll be paying this nice car. You can afford it. Just do it, right? Problem is you're going to be paying interest on that car loan, right? So in my opinion, you should not be buying brand new cars unless you have the cash to pay for them, right? So I think, and your car insurance will be higher. So I think especially while you're young, buy used cars, drive them, it'll be okay. But then once you set everything up and you have investments and you're wealthy, then you can get that new car, right? So like in 5 years, I'm buying a Tesla truck and I can't wait. So that's how I think you want to set it up. So while you're young, you live frugally, and then when you're older, you can enjoy your wealth a little bit. So those are car loans. But if you have one, that's okay, right? I've had one in the past. So go ahead and throw in whatever your car loan is up there if you know what it is. We got miscellaneous loans. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll down. Let's look at our current and future budget for savings. And let's just discuss with our group members, what does your current and future budget for savings look like? Discuss. For saving, investing, paying off debt. All right, let's go right here. What's it looking like?
For me, I'm in the negatives for both.
Negatives for both because of tuition, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if we didn't have tuition, if we scrolled up to right here, what does it look like for you? Does it look okay right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your number? Just let's go future number. What's your future number?
Future number without tuition would be 1,033.
1,033. Okay, yeah, so good. So once we go back here, if we want to follow this, right? So with that $1,033, what you want to start doing every single month is you want to first create that buffer, right? We should be trying to create that right now, and then you want to create that emergency fund. If you have $1,000 per month, you're going to have that already in 2 months, right? If you're budgeting properly and not spending too much. So you set that up. Then you want to start putting that whole $1,000 to paying off your bills, right? So if I was paying $500 of my money to student loans every single month, you'd want to do the same with that $1,000 if you have made that salary and you budgeted properly, right? Once you get that set up and you paid off all your debt, right? Now you're debt free. It feels great. I'm finally debt free as of like a year and a half ago. Then you can start then you can start building that emergency fund, right? Now, if you have a family, you might need to do that emergency fund before the debt, right? Because maybe you got kids to take care of and a family, so you got to watch out for that. So you might need to reverse the order. But let's just say you pay off your debt, and now in 6 months, you're going to have your big emergency fund for 6 months. And that's when you start investing. And if you start putting $1,000 away per month in investments, let's look this up again right here. So let's say by the age of 30, you're debt free. You've been making a $1,000 payment every single month. You've been really good. You're 30 years old. You're not 30 years old. You're only 30. You're going to retire at 67, let's say. And let's say you haven't even saved for retirement. You've just been paying off your loans, which is a good idea. And now you start putting that $1,000 to work every single month just in the S&P 500. You're going to have $8 million by the age of 67, right? So that's kind of how we want to set this up, because we can make our money work for us. So, all right, that's all I have for you. You are free to go. If I didn't get your name, make sure you let me know so I get your grade in. And we'll be meeting for finals. What time is it? 2:30. There we go. 2:30 in here on Monday. It'll be normal class kind of, but with just a summary. And we'll talk about investing at that time. All right, you are free to go.